good afternoon, welcome back to the vlogs. It's currently 1:30 and this morning I've been getting some work done, just had a shower and shaved and cut my knee, so I've got a plaster on my knee. But today we're going to the War Remnants Museum, but first of all we're going to get some lunch. But yeah, hello, welcome, let's get going. Okay, so we've walked in a couple of different restaurants and looked at prices and things like that, and because it's 1:30, it's now almost 2 o'clock. A lot of the places are either closed or just not really what we fancied. So we're thinking, well, we were thinking about going to the market. Jeremy just walked past someone who's got lots of food that might be tempting him.
That's amazing.
Want to do that instead? Okay, so we are going to go to the market. I thought I would show you as well when we get there and what we decide to have, and I'm excited. So this is the entrance and we have to cross this road, and this is how you do it. You just have to walk and hope that people move out the way for you, so it's a little bit crazy. Okay, so we just finished lunch and that was so disappointing. It's such a shame because like when you get good food, it's like the same all around the world. If you get really good food, it's really good. If you get really bad food, it's really bad. And that was so disappointing. I also ordered an orange juice that was basically sugar with a tiny squeeze of orange with ice. Really disappointing as well. So did not enjoy that. Anyway, we're now going to walk up to the what's it called? It's the War Remnants Museum, I got it. Okay, so here it is. We paid 40,000 to get in, which is just under €2 each, probably about £1.50, something like that. We're going to have a look at these things outside afterwards because it's really, really hot and I want to get inside with hopefully some AC. So it does look quite interesting. So there's the ground floor with the helicopters and things outside, and then there's the first floor and second floor. And this is kind of what it says that there is. So this is what it looks like. Souvenir shop. The War Remnants Museum is located in Ho Chi Minh City, the former Saigon, which was the capital of the Republic of Vietnam during the war. The museum was established in 1975 after the end of the Vietnam War and has since been visited by millions of people. One of the most striking exhibits at the museum is a display of captured military equipment, including tanks, artillery and aircraft, as well as weapons and uniforms. The museum also features a collection of photographs taken during the war, many of which are graphic and depict the horrors of the conflict. The museum also has a section that focuses on the use of Agent Orange, a chemical weapon that was sprayed by the United States over large areas of South Vietnam during the war. The exhibit includes information on the effects of Agent Orange on the health of both soldiers and civilians, as well as the environmental damage caused by the chemical. There are also many photographs of the children born with serious birth defects as a result of Agent Orange. Another section of the museum is dedicated to the role of foreign correspondents and photographers who covered the war, and the exhibits include photographs and equipment used by journalists during the war. The museum also has a section dedicated to the prisoners of war and the missing in action. This section includes information about the conditions of the prisoners and the efforts to account for those who were listed as missing in action. The War Remnants Museum is a powerful reminder of the human cost of war and the lasting impact that the Vietnam War had on the country and its people. The museum aims to educate visitors about the history of the conflict and the lessons that can be learned from it. The Vietnam War was a long and devastating conflict that resulted in a large number of casualties. The exact number of deaths is difficult to determine, as different sources give different figures. However, some estimates put the total number of deaths as a result of the war over 2 million. The number of civilian deaths is estimated to be between 1 and 2 million. Many civilians were killed as a result of the intense bombing campaigns conducted by the United States during the war. Civilians were also caught in the crossfire between the North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese armies, and many were killed by landmines and booby traps. The number of military deaths is estimated to be between 1 and 2 million, with most of these deaths being suffered by the North Vietnamese and South Vietnamese armies. The United States suffered around 58,200 deaths, and the South Vietnamese army suffered around 300,000 deaths. The number of bombs dropped during the Vietnam War is also staggering. The United States dropped over 7 million tons of bombs during the war, which is more than twice the amount dropped during World War II. This includes over 20 million gallons of herbicides such as Agent Orange, were sprayed over the country. The bombing campaigns were particularly intense during the early years of the war, with the heaviest bombing occurring between 1965 and 1968. The bombing caused widespread destruction and death, with many villages and towns being completely levelled. The bombing also had a lasting impact on the environment and the health of the people living in the affected areas. The Vietnam War officially ended on April 30th, 1975, with the fall of Saigon, the capital of South Vietnam. The North Vietnamese Army, which had been fighting against the South Vietnamese government and its allies, including the United States, captured the city, effectively ending the war and reunifying the country under a communist government. The end of the war came after a series of major military offensives by the North Vietnamese Army. In early 1975, the North Vietnamese launched a major offensive in the central highlands of South Vietnam, which quickly collapsed the South Vietnamese Army's defences. This was followed by a series of attacks on major cities in South Vietnam, including Da Nang. As the North Vietnamese Army closed in on Saigon, the South Vietnamese government and its American allies began to prepare for the city's fall. On April 29th, the North Vietnamese Army entered Saigon and the South Vietnamese government surrendered. The next day, the North Vietnamese Army declared victory and the war officially came to an end. In the final days of the war, hundreds of thousands of South Vietnamese, along with many Americans and other foreigners, fled the country by air and sea in a chaotic evacuation known as the Fall of Saigon. The end of the war had a profound impact on the people of Vietnam, as well as the United States and the rest of the world. The war resulted in the deaths of an estimated 2 million people and left many more wounded or displaced. The war also left a lasting impact on the environment, economy, and society of Vietnam and on the veterans and families of those who fought in the war. So I wanted to come on here and actually talk to you about my experience of visiting the War Remnants Museum, because I don't feel like I really did that at the end of kind of visiting it. So all of that information that you just heard me talking about was, the voiceover was created by OpenAI. So I asked AI some questions and this is what came out. So that was not my kind of, my personal opinion, it was not my views, it was just the information that artificial intelligence came up with to talk to me about the war and also about the War Museum. I actually didn't know much about the Vietnam War whilst I was in Vietnam, so going to this museum was super eye-opening and really, really interesting. I will say it was very shocking, it was very sad, especially the Agent Orange section. I almost left because I was just so impacted by it and I was so shocked and scared and appalled and disappointed and disgusted, and I felt just all of the emotions and I actually cried. It was really hard to hold back my tears and kind of not cry because obviously I'm not Vietnamese, I was not in the war, so it kind of seems not silly, but I did feel weird crying about something that didn't affect me, but just seeing the images and hearing the stories really, really affected me and really kind of hit me deep, and it was really sad. So it's definitely not a fun visit, it's not a fun day out, it's not, I don't know if I would show children the Agent Orange things. But with all that being said, it was really, really informative, and I feel like I actually got a real good idea of what happened during the war, especially with the photographs that they had, with the text that they had, the information that they had, it was, and even the uniforms and the weapons and things like that. I feel like it was really informative and really well worth going to, and I would recommend it to everybody who is visiting Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City. I think it's well worth going. I will just say, kind of be warned that it is sad and it is upsetting, and it's it really affected me to go in there. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to try and do my best with this video to, I think I kind of underestimated it. At the beginning of the vlog, I was like, I'm going to vlog today, it's going to be fun. And then when we got there, I was just like, oh my God, this is just so impactful, so powerful, so everything, that I then didn't vlog afterwards. I actually felt really sick afterwards. I also got food poisoning the next day, so I didn't vlog the next day either. So now I'm editing this video and coming back and wanted to share my personal experience. So I would recommend going 100%. I think it's worth knowing about. I think it's worth getting all of that information and also being shocked, because there is shocking things that happen in the world, and I think that's okay to acknowledge and to learn about. But that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope to see you soon here again on my channel. If you're new here, please do subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye.